Darjeeling Surprise by Reading in Solitude. You walked Darjeeling home from the ball you and her had attended back at the college. The St. Gloriana College for Girls hosted a gala that night to raise money for new ammunition loading equipment. Not for them, however, but rather equipment that you would be making use of for their school. Being that you were the munitions manufacturer of choice for the school, it was only natural that you go. Nonetheless, go with her, your lover. You were a small-time manufacturer specializing in the types of munitions that the girls used for their tank matches, and while the business was lucrative, it was always something of a strain to raise funds for new equipment without having to raise prices for the school. Given that you manufactured only munitions for their use, though from time to time some pros would order from you, as would schools that, for whatever reason, couldn't or wouldn't move their own munitions to the St. Gloriana's campus, it was rather hard to not see prices go up. That was how you and Darjeeling first met, when she met with you to discuss setting up a trade deal to help you not have to raise prices. The relationship between St. Gloriana and your shop was long and complicated. You contended with being an independent business, yet also being dependent on the school for your livelihood, or going from manufacturing all types of ammunition, long before you even ran the shop, to now being focused on making Sanshiro munitions, the way that it was when you took over the shop from the last owner. Ever since you met Darjeeling, she helped smooth things out between all parties, and made things easier for you two to come together. She was none but a lovely woman to be with, and with time the two of you became closer. Business turned into leisure, leisure into love. Soon it wasn't uncommon for you to spend plenty of time together. You were even discussing the idea of taking her on to run the shop with you when she finished school. When you made it to Darjeeling's front door, the two of you sighed deeply, staring into one another's eyes. It was always at this point that neither one of you wanted to be the first to say farewell, and so you'd stand until somebody spoke up. But tonight was a Friday, you thought. Perhaps something good might come of it. "Well, tonight's been quite nice, hasn't it?" asked Darjeeling. "It has," you replied to her, not letting go. "Shall I leave you then for tonight?" you asked after a moment, when nothing more was said. But Darjeeling didn't let you go as you began to step back. She looked down to your belt with a smirk and brought herself closer to you. "Perhaps you'd like to do something a little more steamy before we part," she whispered in a low voice, her eyes staying away from yours. "Oh?" you asked, knowing exactly what she meant by that look of hers. It was exactly what you were hoping for. Her eyes looked back up to you from her lowered head, pushing you over the edge to say, "Of course." "I think I just might," you stated, setting a hand behind her, just above her waist as you walked in. Darjeeling trailed ahead of you, pulling your hand, dragging you ahead to your favorite room in her apartment. It seemed as if barely had you closed the front door that you were now before this next one, in the small townhouse that was hers. "Are you ready?" she asked, playfully and excitedly, as she waited at the door for your reply. "Is there any doubt?" you replied, excited as well. Darjeeling turned the handle and threw it open, pulling you in, and quickly laying you back into the couch set within. Just as soon as you were seated, she was dancing as she moved away from you, to the other side of the room, opening a drawer slowly, seductively. Her eyes locked onto yours, smirking as she moved. Darjeeling reached gently into the drawer and pulled something out that you both loved so much, tucking it away from sight. She teased on approaching you once more. "Maybe you'd rather be blindfolded for this." You simply grinned as she came to you and wrapped the scarf that she had worn to the gala around your eyes, leaving you to none but your other four senses. Darjeeling giggled as she pranced away, her feet tapping against the hardwood floor. You heard Darjeeling rustling around excitedly, setting something up that, while you were not exactly sure of what, you'd been through this enough to somewhat figure out what she was putting together. It was quiet for a minute before you heard the sound of something that you'd come to expect, of liquid splashing away. You smiled, knowing that what you so desired was to be yours on her return. "Careful now, dear," she giggled. "It's hot." You felt the couch beside you sink as she sat down, followed by the weight of her body as she leaned across you. You felt something warm under your nose, its heat opening your sinuses that had been constricted in the cold of the outdoors. Her breath set itself on your arm as a soft cushion between your frame and hers. Sensations felt heightened without your sight, and the warmth of her breath and the liquid combined excited you. "Can you guess what it is?" she asked, her voice trailing as she did so. I think so," you cooed. You felt the hot liquid touch your lips, to which you drank greedily. "Oh, that's so good," you whispered as she brought the cup away from your mouth. "Is it what you thought?" she asked. "Better," you responded, taking off the blindfold. "Peppermint? This early into winter? To be honest, I was expecting your usual milk tea." Darjeeling giggled. "I wanted to give you a real surprise." You took the teacup from her and looked inside. "Loose leaf, of course," you smiled, nodding to her before going back to analyzing the cup. "Would I ever offer anything but?" she asked as you finished your cup and looked back at her. "Not that I'd expect, but it would be a surprise," you replied, giving her a kiss. "But it does seem a little sweeter than usual," you commented, once more examining the bottom of the cup. Darjeeling looked bashfully at you, to which you pulled her in close. "Don't tell me. Let me guess." "Cane sugar?" you asked excitedly. Darjeeling pulled out a little packet from her sleeve with her teeth, to which you cheered. "I got some cane sugar for our tea," she said excitedly, dropping the packet into your hand. You sighed with joy as you relaxed back into the couch. "This is amazing," you whispered. "You love my tea that much?" she asked as she rested her head upon your chest. "Well, yes, that. But more so, I love having it with you," you stated. Darjeeling smiled, pecking her lips before going back to finishing her own tea. It is nice to be together like this," she smiled once more as she set hand on your thigh. "But maybe you'd like to get a little closer tonight."